Tues.
Yeah, recording in progress.
She never changes her accent.
No, she doesn't. American.
Well, look, let me share some lovely news with you because you're all part of it. Today, I've just received, amongst the chaos, a text message from Justin Bazzino saying, Lisa, congratulations, you and your team have gone past 24,000 group customers.
Wow.
Yeah. 30,
Good grief.
30, well, that's down to the team, definitely at the moment. That's like yesterday, 13 more customers, nothing to do with me, came on. And I just say to everyone, that is why you build a team, you bring people in, you give them this opportunity massively, because here I am so unable at the moment to focus because I've got all this mayhem going on in the background and I'm having to be everything to my parents and I don't live near them. And when she gets moved to Southampton, Dad gets moved to Southampton, you know, Mel, I've got a minimum hour and a half each way. So 3 hours of the day of driving before we've even got there, so to speak. So that's great news. Now, look, I decided it would be good to talk about something that could be useful to everyone, I'm sure. And that is all about how do we engage in really nice conversation with people in and around the festive period, because we are going to be out and about, although I think my life is in hospitals at the moment. However, I will share in a moment something that I did today. Okay. But before we actually get going, can I just emphasize something incredibly important? And I want to bring in my screen, my partner portal. Let me share. And I'm in the, as you can see, up and coming events, you know, live events and trainings. Okay. And up and coming events. And very important amongst all the buzzes. And please, could you note this in your diary? Please make way for this stuff. It's important. Thursday, the 12th of January is the Bournemouth Buzz. All right. And we're going to try and get someone really special there. All right. To kick off the new year, because getting together and being together is incredibly important. We've had so much time over the last few years of not having this, that we've got to do everything to try and be together. The other thing too is there is an online kickoff on Saturday, the 14th of Jan. Every single director, national network leaders, the national group leaders are all saying this should not be the only kickoff that you attend because you're not attending. It would be like going to see, can you imagine your favorite, I don't know, your favorite group, whoever that is, your favorite artist. Now, for me, I'm absolutely nuts about Mick Hucknall, Simply Red, and the Rolling Stones. And I'm also, as everybody that really knows me, I'm a raver. I've never, ever got out of rave music. And Pete Tong does it for me. Now, I can't even begin to explain the endorphins that fill me when I am present in these concerts. It's just, yeah, anyone know what I mean? You know, when you get the little hairs going up down the back of your neck. It's just like phenomenal, because you cannot replicate this on a TV screen. I'm sorry, it just isn't. And also, when you're there, you are intermingling with other people. And sometimes one of those little interactions could be a spark that really ignites your business, something that kicks off. And do you know what's interesting? Have you all seen Chandler Jones? It's amazing. Do you know what? He's a very down-to-earth man, isn't he? There's no sort of airs and graces and frills and flounces, and he's very driven, very focused, but he actually does say, here we are, it was amplify that got him going. Something at the event sparked in him, and it made him change from the years of really doing nothing to all of a sudden becoming this incredible person that has made history in UW and got 1,000 personal customers. And as he says, you know, a huge percentage of homeowners. Incredible, absolutely incredible. So yes, I will be looking at this one, the 14th. I'll watch it, of course I will. But I'm actually booked on the Midlands, and there's a reason I've chosen the Midlands, because it's Justwan Ray and Stuart Ritchie who are astoundingly good at hitting the point and giving us valuable information in regards to how to really reach out and prospect and build a team and how to work with a team. And my focus is all about that. It's not about me. There's others. Obviously, nobody expects you to start, you know, getting up the motorways to run corn. But there is one in the southwest, which is in Newport, South Wales. That's on Saturday the 7th. Okay. That runs the same time as the Midland one. I've chosen the Midlands because I love what I say, and also I've got team growing up there now, and I'm meeting them for the first time. There's another reason, a chance to meet up with people, really important. And I will say to anyone, no matter what's going on at home, I will be telling my family on that day I am going. It is in my diary. Nothing is stopping me. All right. So I want everyone to know the other major thing, of course, is Power Up. I'm trying to find it now. Where's Power Up, guys? Have they moved it? It should be on here. It's probably on its own. But Power Up is Saturday, 22nd, Sunday 23rd of April. They've moved it a month. And yeah, that's the other major one. And anyone that we bring in, we must emphasize the power of events. And I know I'm laboring on this, but you know, if you hear people like Stephen Longworth and you hear Robin Brooks and you hear these other people, they'll say to you that actually it's at these events that often the changes happen. And personally, I will say to you all that I joined in the November the 6th, 2002. And I had just missed the annual conference, which used to be held in September. And so it was virtually about 10 months before finally there was the next annual conference, because there didn't used to be the kickoffs. There weren't these other two in the calendar. It was just once a year. And I can remember with my late husband, Chris, we booked it. It was at the the Birmingham NEC. And they did a very clever thing. I'll just stop the share a minute because you don't need to see that screen. They did something very clever. And it was two auditoriums that held about 1,000 each. And the stage was clever. It had a rotating wall. So the people on the stage could go into either of the auditoriums. Now, what happened? We booked ourselves the night before, and I just remember turning up and every so often whispering to Chris, hey, they're all deadly serious, aren't they, about this business? And he said, yeah. He said, they've even got piggy ties on. He said, have you seen? Some of the guys have got piggy cufflinks. Pigs was the logo then. And I can remember being partly amused, but also like, oh, actually, this is a serious business. Because take yourselves back, guys, when you join with somebody, don't you? And you learn that there is a sort of a wider network, but I don't think people truly understand how massive a business it is. And of course, the next morning, it's the conference. Well, I tell you what, when we walked into this auditorium, which of course is nothing like Telford, because it was still only 1,000, all right? But I went, oh my God, Chris, we're in something really big. Because the penny hadn't dropped. And I have to say that was when, like, wow, actually, perhaps I need to take this more seriously. And it took something like that, you see. So I've got to emphasize, are you all booked at Power Up? Have you booked your places? Yes, well done. Of course you have. All right, really important. And have you booked a kickoff? Got a kickoff going? Excellent. So pass that around, right? Let's build the excitement, really important. So let's go, let's talk about what I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about the festive season that's upon us. Now, I'm quite happy for you guys to unmute if you wish, because I want this to be a little bit interactive. What I'll say to you is, there's probably going to be occasions when you might be with work colleagues. There may be parties going on. You could be just going out for a drink with your other half, whatever it may be. And the best thing to do, and I say this all the time, kind of listen to people's woes. Now, that's not because I'm a miserable girl. Okay, it's because what we're out to do is fight. I'm going to say this, right? This is something I learned from Critch. People are like an onion, all right? Now, the outer layers are pretty sealed. And we all kind of live, I'd say, with a persona. I'm not saying we're all fake, because we're not fake, okay? But if we lived with our heart on our sleeve all the time, we'd never function. Is that true? I mean, if you take my situation at the moment, it's so bedlam that this is, as I said, sanity. And actually, there's got to be a point at which you've got to live life. So what we do, and this is a key, we all kind of put on a front. And like an onion, when you peel away the layers, all of a sudden the fumes happen and the onion kind of starts doing its thing, and it makes you cry, doesn't it? Well, it does me. I'm useless. Now, a bit like people, as you peel away the layers, you get to the real core of what's going on. And so one of the things we're taught by Alan Pease in Questions and the Answers is we need to engage in decent conversation. Now, what's decent conversation? It's when we bother to care. You know, I keep saying all the time, kindness is everything. Kindness is caring. And caring is actually finding out about people. So you could be somewhere and I don't know, anything could spark, anything at all. I think I talked about a lady in Tesco's at the cashier the other day. You know, it doesn't matter where it is. And then you could actually say, oh gosh, the cold weather, have you got your heating on full pelt? Here's a good one. Have you got your heating on full pelt? Now, you'll get some interesting answers. Some will go yes, but they'll be few and far between. Because what I am seeing, and I supported a lady the other night, Friday night, I supported a lady on Zoom, and these were friends. And this was really very interesting. So I noticed that they're sat in their living room and he's got a Barber jacket on. And she's there kind of like, you know, you can tell when somebody's seriously layered. And she's got a full-blown scarf on. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, have they got the back door open? No. In reality, they admit on screen, they've not even put their heating on yet because it's too expensive. Now, isn't that interesting? These people kind of, when we were engaging, they can't help themselves that this stuff's coming out, and then they're trying to make out that actually life is okay, it's fine. And it's a paradox. And at one point I actually did say, do you know what, switch to UW. When you take 3 services, you'll be able to afford to put your heating on. because I mean, I can't imagine living life like that. I just can't. We've got our heating on, and as far as I'm concerned, you know what, luxuries could go to one side, and actually the basics about warm food in your tummy and having the heating on is paramount. So what a great question to sort of throw at someone. Oh, have you got your heating on full power at the moment? Because it'd be interesting what comes out. And you know what, whatever happens, you don't want to sell it there and then. You mustn't. What you do is you kind of say, well, do you know what? That's interesting. Do you believe in fate? It's a good question. Do you believe in fate? And they'll go, yeah, sometimes. Well, interesting. Do you know that's what I do? I show people how to have the cheapest gas and electric, and it doesn't cost them any money. I show people how to have the cheapest gas and electric. Show. That's what we do, isn't it? We show. And they'll go, oh, say, well, look, now's not the time or the place. That's always a great thing. It's not the time or the place. Yeah. And then the big top tip from Wes Linden, which I got years ago, was don't hand them a business card. Please. It'll get lost. It'll get forgotten. It will go in all the hubbub of all the stuff that's going on in their lives. Say to them, oh, would you like to know a bit more? Because most people would like to know a bit more. I tell you what, I'll take your name and number. This is what I did in Tesco's. I've never had anyone say no, never. So what I do is I go to my contacts, and the lady there, I said, oh, what's your first name? Elaine. I said, all right, Elaine. I'll say, I know what, I'm going to put Elaine Tesco's as a reminder. And she laughed and I laughed. She gives me her number and I said, I'll send you some information. And she went, oh, lovely, do. As I finished off, she said, don't forget to send me the information. Now, what that means is you have control. We have control. We are able to then reach out to them. If you just give them a card, that's it. The moment's gone, totally. So you can do this little thing anywhere. Now, I'll share with you what happened on the ward today. Now, I don't want you to end up in hospital, all right? It's not recommended. But what was going on was that we turn up, you know what hospitals are like. They're boiling, aren't they? And of course, there's us with I've got my big Jules quilted coat like a duvet. And all of a sudden you're sort of like, you're taking it all off because you've gone from one extreme to the other. And I put the coat down and everything. And we're in this tiny ward, all men, 4 of them. 3 are asleep. And there is one gentleman that's immediately behind me, where Dad's in front of me. And he's in bed and he's got a woman there. I wouldn't have known if it was his daughter or anyone. I haven't got a clue. And as I'm sort of doing all my bits and Mum's faffing around, I said, oh gosh, I said, aren't you hot? Because she still had her coat on. And she said, no, I'm catching up and making the most of this. I said, oh, what do you mean? She said, well, because it's so damn cold, isn't it, at home? I said, oh, haven't you got your heating on yet? You know, like you just would. Oh, she said, far too expensive. Just like that. Mum, my mum can't help herself. I'm like, shut up, Mum, stop it. Mum goes, oh, you need my daughter. She will give you the cheapest gas and electric. And she actually turned around and said, oh, really? Yeah, she said, that's what she does. We can afford to put our heating on, she said. So I just said to her, look, I tell you what, I said, it's not the time or the place here. I said, would you like to know some more? And she went, oh, yes, please. And there you are. I was straight in there, got her name. And I said, look, I'll put bed 24, ward B3. And she said, no, it's all right. You can have my second name. So she gave me her whole name. And I said, I'm still going to put that because I need to remember when I'm doing. And what happened, she every so often kind of like, you know, like somebody, they want to engage in conversation. Because I tell you this, if you don't sell, what happens is people want to know, because everybody wants to buy something, but nobody wants to be sold to, which is a weird thing. And I think I'm probably even in that category myself. I'm one of those people that if I go in a shop, like, please don't come over and pounce on me. I want to look. And then when I'm ready, I go to an assistant and ask. And I think that's possibly the same for most folk. So that's why we shouldn't kind of like pounce. So I want to ask you all, have you got any, first of all, unmute, have you got any parties coming up? Who's got a party? Anyone go to a party? No?
No. B&I, our little chapter here in Glasgow, there's quite a few, but the one I'm in, we've got a little lunchtime next Wednesday. We've got a little lunchtime get together. And then I'm taking a friend of mine and his young daughter to our local theatre pantomime, which is just around the corner from me.
Oh, no, you're not.
Oh, yes, you
Oh,
are.
yes, I am.
Right. Well, look, Rod, the BNI lunch, everybody knows what you do anyway. All right. So it kind of is a bit different there. But in other situations, this is when this kind of impromptu, what I call prospecting, engaging, comes into its own. But always the best moments, I don't want to call them sales. I don't even want to call them prospective, but the best moments are the ones that are very
I don't know. Sorry.
impromptu.
Nope.
Very, could you mute, Lindsay, if you're not going to engage? Sorry. Ta. Chris, are you going to anything?
Bit like Rod there. I've got a Thursday morning. I've got a breakfast with Network Dorset. So we'll be in Christmas jumpers. It's not a normal meeting. It'll be very much a sort of social type thing. So I've only been in the group for about 3 months. I'm still getting to know people really well.
Yeah. Has anyone here got any family that they've not signed up yet? Anyone got any family they've not signed up?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it's my sister. All right. I don't think that one's happening, to be honest. We're being wonderfully kind and civil and everything else at the moment for my parents' sake, but we are estranged basically. But if you've got family you've not yet signed up, I'm just going to ask you, do they know what you do?
Yes.
Okay. Has it got to the point where it's embarrassing to mention it? Yeah. Okay. Do you avoid ever mentioning it?
Mentioned it once and it didn't get, oh, well, we'll have a look at it, we'll see, you know. But it didn't go any further.
Okay.
Maybe I should revisit that.
I asked my sister to help me when we got the new presentation, and then I modified it a bit for her. And I said, oh, could I practice on you? And she quite willingly helped me with that. And even though for years I've been going on at her about it for a long time, she still ended up at the very end saying, that's really good. Yeah. No, I'm not going to sign up though, because my friend, blah, blah, blah.
There are some people that they wouldn't, even if they can see it's the best, because what comes in is ego. It's all about ego. Ego and pride, that they couldn't bear to let the barrier down, that they know really that this is better than they've got, but rather than, they want to keep face. Yeah. It's not worth falling out over. I absolutely believe that. It's not worth falling out over. However, what can happen in time, as you get other friends of theirs, and I would say to you, if you've not yet explored maybe their friends, okay, because you could, here's my suggestion. This is what I'm going to say. When you're together and the moment's right, please, you can't just bring it up ad hoc. But when the moment's right, you could say to them, any of your friends that you've got or neighbours, do you know if like they've not had the normal sort of Christmas, you know, like money's a bit tighter this year because it's obviously everything going on. And if they say yes, say, do you know, I'd love to be able to show them this because it might jolly well help them. Oh, and you know, I'd be more than happy to give you a little thank you gift. Of course, if you were a customer, you would get £50 for recommending. And you could just leave it like that, because it might be better to skirt round them and go in other areas. And then what happens is these people gradually hear from others, and I'm sure this has happened to you, that it's only when 2 or 3 people say to them, oh yeah, that's really good. Oh yeah, brilliant. That all of a sudden, repetition of something being good, and this is the premise of advertising, all right? I learned this because I don't know if any of you know that prior to this, I was in business-to-business advertising. It takes most people 7 awarenesses, 7 hits of something before finally the brain will go into gear and say, I ought to look at that. Can you believe it's 7? But it is. So if they hear from other people, then that might be the trigger that they would come back to you. But veer away, don't fall out over Christmas, because that would be terrible. But maybe offer it to others outside of them, and you just might find it might come back. Also, I think I'd be more tempted to say to them, do you know anyone at the moment that's looking to do some extra part-time work? Now that's interesting. We could all say who wants an extra income, all right? But if you actually say, do you know anybody that's after perhaps extra hours, or they're looking for some extra part-time work? Oh, I'd love to have a chat with them. I've got a way that they could earn a load of money. Because some of your relatives may not realise that this incredible business applies to them as well. I tend to focus mostly on the opportunity of this forever income, because I think it has more relevance. And then the byproduct is that they become a customer. Or if they're not interested in the income, then they do become a customer. I don't know. Does any of that help? Yeah? Anybody want to ask a question? I can see there's something in the chat. Let me see what that is. Oh, right. Thank you very much. Very kind of you, Chris. Anybody got any questions? Yes, Isabel?
Just, I've had a couple, like, I did an experiment with my niece, and she's got her own flat now. So anyway, she seemed quite interested. And then I was going back to her and she said, I'm not going to change at the moment. And I said, oh, why? I said, have you been reading Martin Lewis? And she said, yes. And then someone else who's actually, I get my Herbalife stuff from her, and she's agreed to see the presentation and all this, but she's already said that I'm not changing at the moment. And I'm wondering how many people are reading, because Martin Lewis is going on about don't change, don't change. So I'm wondering if how to get around that. I mean, I'll go back to them both anyway, but
yeah, I would say to them, let me show you. And Martin Lewis has some great advice, but the trouble is he's working on the premise of energy-only companies that don't offer things like extra saving, that when you spend money, you get extra money off your bills. He's not even allowing for things like that. And he doesn't even put that into the equation. So I always say to folk, unfortunately, he's working only on literally energy companies like for like. And with the big 6, there is virtually no difference between any of them. Then you explain to them, they're not even taking on customers because they would actually lose money. So that's why he's saying don't switch. But he forgets that Utility Warehouse is outside the framework. They're not just an energy company. They offer telephony and mobiles and broadband and insurances of various kinds. And then there's this incredible extra thing, which is this amazing card that gives you money off your everyday spending. Totally different.
Do you think it's worthwhile explaining how he has made his money by getting, you know, Utility Warehouse don't pay him if they switch, whereas the other companies
Absolutely.
do?
I was prospecting. I was doing an interview today with somebody interested in the opportunity. And I said to him, look, Martin Lewis, you know, he's done a lot of good for folk. Don't knock it. But I said, the trouble is what he doesn't reveal, all right, is that 8 pages into his website, he earns an awful lot of money from recommending people to switching services. And Utility Warehouse is the only company that won't pay him a commission. Is that really fair? I would pose the question, is it fair? Just because Utility Warehouse won't pay a commission, he won't recommend them. Not very good. And once people realise that, they realise it's a different thing, because he comes over as this brilliant champion of the people, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He is, you know, he's brilliant. And hey, don't knock it. There's some good things that he actually shows folk. Yeah, because it's across the board, lots of things. But where it comes, I think we are a bit of a bone of contention to him. Yeah, it probably irks him no end that he earns nothing from UW. All right. So look, guys, I don't know whether we want to do a next week, but I did have an idea if you wanted to. I quite like the idea of doing my annual quiz. And that would be a bit of fun, wouldn't it? Do you like the idea, Kev? Yeah, I've done it before. I'm more than happy to get a hamper together, so there's a nice prize. Won't be quite the same thing as what UW do with their Faulkner and Mason baskets, but I have a basket and I could fill it with lots of lovely goodies to make it, and we could have a really good Christmas fun quiz, and a bit of forget all about everything else and just enjoy ourselves. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I'll put it out before, so because the people that haven't watched or watched the replay, so people are aware that it's going to be a fun quiz. All right, guys, thank you for joining me, and this will follow up with a replay. All right, and I hope by next week there might be more sanity in my life.
One question.
Yes.
Just what do you I know I've seen all this. What do you think of Chandler Jones? Fantastic. I mean, because you were the top person for a long time on 600, and 1,000 is, but mind you, he is doing it 10 hours a day, is he not? So if we all did 10 hours a day, maybe we could catch.
Chandler Jones is a phenomenon. He is a driven and focused man that has made a massive conscious decision to actually go nuts and make this work. Given that he's the very first person to hit 1,000, okay, in all 27 years, that speaks volumes. What I would say to anyone is there's some really great tips to learn from him. Focus is one of them. He had some great one-liners. I've already put them out on the Teams, some things I picked up when I watched. I'd say you can't emulate him. I would say he's pretty unique. He's got incredible reasons why he's doing this. Very, very powerful. Most people cannot give up 10, 12 hours a day and wouldn't want to do so. Okay. But what you can do is take the good stuff, the good tips from him. And I think well done to him. Wonderful. However, when I hit 600 personal, which was back in ridiculously 2008, there was no fanfare, nothing. I just hit 600 and sort of carried on. Because I was being advised, build a team, build a team, build a team. because what we're out to do is to make ourselves inconsequential to our income. What Chandler has had for this last year is more than a job. My God, he's had a serious job. Putting in 10, 12 hours a day is like, wow, incredible. I wouldn't want to do that. I have done some of that in the past to get where I needed to get, okay, but I wouldn't want to do it forever. I'm still not going to aim for 1,000. That's my choice. What I'm going to do is carry on helping people to build their businesses so they can experience what I'm experiencing, which is an incredible walk-away income. That at this moment in time, once again, you know, when I lost Chris, I grieved, I didn't work. And here I am in this situation that I am able to give so much of my time to my mum and be there. And that's because I don't have to ever worry about money ever again. And I want that for other people. The bills are not only paid, and this, please put this in perspective. I sit today on 600 and I think it's 84 personal customers. All right. I don't go out to find them. They're mostly referrals that come into me. What I'm doing is looking for people for an opportunity. But even though I earn an incredible sum, about £3,000 a month, and I don't mind sharing that off the personal, that's a fair old whack residual. I earn 4 times more off my team residual income from all those customers that are growing. That's why it's show other people, give them that opportunity too. Does anybody, we're seriously running over time now. Does anybody actually really believe that I'm cross with Rob Barris for showing me this?
Exactly.
I will praise that man to the day I die because I am so grateful that he gave me that opportunity. He says, oh, but Lisa, you ran with it. No, but if he'd never showed me, if he'd never given me the chance, I look at my situation in life now, I wouldn't be in this incredible position that I'm in. Yeah. So think about that. Don't think that you are encroaching. You are doing someone a massive favor and giving them a chance that wouldn't otherwise be there. If they look at it and say it's not for them, fine, you've done your bit. But you're in, as Claire Hingott says, you're in show business. Guys, have a lovely week. See you next week.
You too.
The quiz. And it won't be about UW. It will be about fun. Whoa, oh yes it will. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Lisa.
care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.